Hello everyone. I hope you are staying warm in this cold January day. It is nice to see all this work that has been done throughout the day for Module 3. I have noticed about 4 themes that were going on in today's module. It seems like most of you focused on collaboration, including co-teaching, and some of you explored collaboration between special education teachers and general education teachers, Christine, Megan, and Rachel. And Brittany and Taylor, they focused on collaboration between teachers and parents, whereas Adria looked into bilingual issues. So there is still that component of having the students from diverse populations in our classrooms. The last objective listed in our module today was addressed by Lindsay's resource, and that was nice to see. While co-teaching was the topic addressed by Delane, Nate, Sophie, and Audrey, person-centered planning was addressed by Abigail and Jennifer. It was nice to see the variety of topics that you addressed because each of those topics addressed the objectives that we have emphasized in this module. I was looking at Megan's post and noticed that although this article is published over a decade ago, there are still relevant issues even in 2017. So collaboration between general education teachers and special education teachers is still something that we have to focus on and make it work somehow. One of the legal considerations that is also emphasized in this article is the IDEA stress about the importance of having students with exceptionalities being educated in a general education classroom. And the idea is that students with exceptionalities are not only physically present in a general education classroom, they are going to access general education curriculum. They are going to meet the same expectations as their peers without disabilities. So for you as general education teachers, it is a must that there should be an emphasis in this collaboration, and as long as you know what and how to meet the needs of your students with exceptionalities, your work is going to be much easier, and this collaboration is going to be more fruitful and helpful for you and for the students in your classrooms. Having a student with exceptionalities in your classroom doesn't really mean only collaboration between special education teacher and general education teacher. If you remember in the first chapter, there was a list of related services that are going to support the student. So for a student to be successful in your classroom, the services and support that are going to help the student to meet the educational goals have to be delivered and support as needed. So for you as teachers, that collaboration doesn't mean that it's going to be directed only to one single person. It might be that you are going to collaborate with paraprofessionals, you're going to collaborate with parents, you're going to collaborate with occupational therapists, speech language therapists, and so forth. So based on the students' needs, you are going to be collaborating closely with a variety of people that have different expertise that are going to meet the needs of your student. Another great collaboration should occur between teachers and parents of children with exceptionalities, and Brittany's resource and also Taylor's resource identify this collaboration as critical. Especially Taylor's resource talked about partnering with families of children with exceptionalities, and it is really important to understand that for parents, having a child with a disability, it is such a challenge. As educators, it is important to understand that having a child with a disability affects the whole family and also produces a range of reactions, responses, and feelings. In some cases, the awareness comes shortly after the birth of the baby. In other cases, it might occur during the preschool years as a result of illness or accident. And many times, parents are told that their son or daughter has a disability upon entering school. So the effect on the family of a child with a disability mainly involves perceptions and feelings that are highly subjective and personalized for each family member. It is important to understand that exceptionality is frequently interpreted differently by different families, even if the type of a disability is the same. In some families, having a child with a disability is perceived as a tragedy. In others, it may be viewed as a crisis. Whereas you might have also families that having a child with a disability, it is seen merely as one more factor to be considered in a daily struggle to survive. So it is impossible to predict how families and parents will respond to a disability, but most likely what researchers have been looking into, and as this article here shows, there has been a stage theory approach that characterizes parental reactions to the diagnosis of a child with a disability. One stage model of parental reaction to disability is three phases. First phase is primary phase, where the parents have a shock, which is followed with denial and then grief and depression. The secondary phase starts with ambivalence, guilt, anger, shame, and embarrassment. And the third phase is tertiary phase, bargaining, adaptation and reorganization, and finally acceptance and adjustment. The model is a generic one because parents of children with different disabilities frequently experience common feelings and react in similar fashion. However, the order of parental response is not predictable. Co-teaching was addressed by a majority of you, and among others also was the conflict resolution that was addressed by Ashley. While researching co-teaching, you probably have noticed that co-teaching is referred oftentimes as a professional marriage, in which teaching partners collaborate to provide instructional services to students with disabilities and others that are at risk of school failure as a result of the negative consequences of environmental events. However, in many occasions, these co-teachers are placed together carelessly, and therefore they miss out the development of stages that is critical in this relationship. So what should teachers do when problems arise? As in any other relationship, when things go wrong, the partners need to sit down and address issues in a structured manner, and same way for co-teachers. Luckily, co-teachers can find various problem-solving models that can be modified to meet specific needs. One of these modules, known as Sinclair's classic model, is a 7-step process that includes identifying issues, then developing alternative courses of action, analyzing risks and benefits of each course of action, choosing a course of action, taking action, evaluating results of the action, and finally assuming responsibility for the consequences. If there are consequences that are negative, then correcting those negative consequences or re-engaging in the decision-making process. Although some issues can be resolved rather quickly, others are more intricate and demand considerable time to solve them. So a structured problem-solving model allows these co-teachers to solve larger problems and hopefully avoid a breakup. Another area addressed was person-centered planning. This person-centered thinking will ensure that education is meeting the needs of each child or a young person, recognizing that each has a unique style of learning, each has a unique style of communicating, building relationships, and making decisions. Looking at the resources and the purpose of person-centered planning, I was thinking really how beneficial this is, not only for the student himself or herself, but also for parents and school as well as the community. When looking at the child, they are going to benefit because they develop that strong sense of themselves as valued individuals and as part of the school and the community. So it will help them build that relationship with their peers and also see what they admire about them. So knowing that they have some value, it will impact their self-esteem and well-being. Also, it has a positive role for parents because now parents will see that the other people value their child and see that their child has strengths rather than just weaknesses. It is also a way to invite parents to contribute their learning and experiences of their child, and also a way for families to have a conversation about what they appreciate about each other. The school also benefits because they can identify strengths and talents of each of the team members to enable individuals to use their abilities to have that great impact on them. The last area that was addressed in today's module was culturally responsive teaching. I think it is important as future teachers to understand what really culture is. We define culture as the attitudes, values, belief systems, norms, and traditions shared by a particular group of people that collectively form their heritage. A culture is typically reflected in a language, religion, dress, diet, social customs, and other aspects of a particular lifestyle. As educators, however, we have to be very careful and not generalize and stereotype when working with students from various cultural groups. As you learn about other cultures, you'll begin to understand how cultural values influence how families interpret the kind of instruction that feels right to them. Researchers have suggested that educators engage in explicit discussions with families regarding different cultural values and practices, bringing to them those interactions and an open-mindedness, the ability to be reflective in their practice, and the ability to listen to the other people's perspectives. Furthermore, educators must respect the new body of knowledge that emerges from these discussions and make allowances for differences in perspectives when responding to the family's needs. I want to thank you all for all the work in this module, and I'm looking forward to read more about the topic in tomorrow's module. Stay warm.